Доброго ранку. Hello everyone, it's great to be here. I'm Igor, I'm originally from Ukraine and I'm with AWS for 4 years already. And essentially, I'm working with customers from Ukraine. And today I wanted to tell you about one situation or one project that I think is the most challenging in my career up to date. And to help me to talk about it, I invited here Oleksii, my colleague and friend from Privatbank.
Доброго ранку, Камраджоба. I'm really proud to be here. Thank you so much for invitation. Thank you for introduction, Igor. We want to talk today about extremely hard project in our careers, and let's start from some numbers about Privatbank, just to explain the complexity of this project. We are the largest, the first bank in Ukraine. We serve more than 18 million customers that make more than 2.5 billion transactions per day. We have wide network of branch offices and ATM devices, POS devices. Looking back into 2021, we had 2 on-prem data centers, which we hosted all our internal applications, developed internal applications, thousands of servers, and everything worked fine. But unfortunately, February 2022, war was changed everything.
Basically, what you see on the picture is one of the data centers in Kiev. It is not the data center of Privatbank, luckily, but we saw that data centers are pretty valid and legit targets. So now the disastrous situation, which means the total loss of data center, is very well a reality in Ukraine.
Yes, due to this war risk situations, missiles attack, we had to to save our banking operations. Financial operations of whole country, and we start considering how to do it, and find 3 options. The first obvious one, it's relocate our equipment hardware to a data center in safe location, for example, in Europe. It was not our case because of high downtime. We don't have weeks to relocate an equipment, and also transportation risks can damage our equipment, so we disabled this option. The second option is renting hardware together with data center, but the closest provider who can deliver us that would have more than 20 months of project. That's why this option also disabled for us. The last one, it's migrated to cloud. Unfortunately, before the war, we had restriction from our national bank regulator. That's why we start discussing negotiation with our national bank to convince them, allow us and other Ukrainian banks move to cloud their core banking solutions. And finally, we did it. In March last year, we got restriction to migrate all our workloads during war period and 2 years after. We already had a relationship with AWS before this project. We have a small part of applications regarding e-commerce and digital business solutions in AWS more than 10 years. And we have small application team who support this part of infrastructure. It's only 5 certified AWS specialists inside bank. We have internal connection between our data centers and cloud platform. That was very helpful for us because it's extremely speed up during the war period, connecting and pumping data and backups to cloud. Also, very efficient protection in AWS, like a web application firewall, Shield as DDoS protection we had in place and reuse, and it extremely was helpful to protect from hackers and DDoS attacks. Igor will describe more detailed on the separate section. And we asked AWS to help start and manage this huge project, and Igor will answer.
Yes, so normally when we are approaching large migrations, we have a methodology in the cloud. So the idea is pretty straightforward. We call it 3 simple steps. However, I mean, if you have a look at the number of the icons there, you may understand that that's not that simple, because that's the way how to manage the migration, how to assess what you have to migrate, how to plan it precisely, how to fork, how to make the forecast of the cost, of the complexity, and then essentially how to do migration. And that's how you are supposed to do it when you are doing it under normal conditions, when it's planned. And also, during this planning, a very important part has to be done. You have a look into every your system or every application you plan to migrate and decide on the strategy. Whether, for example, you may just retire it so you don't need it in the cloud anymore. Or you can essentially optimize it or modify it or make it better, re-architect it during the migration. That also works. Or if there is no other options, you can do it, we call it lift and shift. Basically, you take the carbon copy of the servers and just move them to the cloud. Usually, after such big migrations, we see that around 30 to 40% of the footprint in the cloud is these lift and shift based migrations. However, in Privatbank case, we didn't have neither time nor opportunity to fail. That's why with them, I think 95% was lift and shift. So now you know how you can do it properly. Now, Oleksii, tell us how we had done it eventually. Oh.
Sorry. How we manage this project? As mentioned, Igor, we don't have much time to do it in classical way, and that's why we do it in some archived extremely mode. We split our IT landscape into pillars from critical systems to less critical. Start from critical ones and splitting each system resources by types, starting from databases because it takes more time to migrate. We need to pump data to cloud, testing switchover procedure, and then application, other type of workloads was migrated. And whole team working in non-stop mode, even at night, even on weekends. We migrating by a simple formula, provisioning resources, configuration resources, deployment, data sync, testing switchover, testing business capabilities, and switching to production if it was successfully tested. And that's why we, in extremely short time, 45 days only, we pushed to cloud in lift and shift non-optimal mode, but more than 300 business applications by our workforces, about 300 of IT DevOps, only 5 of them have special education with AWS technologies. And it was a world record, as we know.
It actually was.
What main challenges we faced? What is the stress? So for bank management, the most important task is people's safety and people's family safety. That's why it was hard to schedule a lot of works, unfortunately. A lot of people didn't believe in this migration. They said even 1 year we didn't have competences, we didn't understand how to do it, and that's why we using some trick like lead by example, choose some motivated leaders, early adopters who migrate in first step very complex systems and start sharing knowledge, sharing confidential with other guys, and it helped. Also, working in hybrid mode, it's not for our IT landscape. It was not designed for such different types of presence in different locations, especially latency between our on-prem data center and the nearest cloud one. It was about 140 milliseconds, so not every our system can work in such mode of network delays. That's why it was a huge architectural challenge how to cut our landscape to ensure that our systems can stable work in different locations in the same time. And the last one, but not least, is network management. As I previously mentioned, we had a very wide network of branches and ATM and POSes, and unfortunately, AWS solution cannot provide such a network capacity for network routes, for network subnets, and that's why it's need totally redesign our network subnets, IP addressing, a lot of things.
Oleksii, maybe you can share some examples on the leadership on the leadership role in these projects. How exactly the leaders joined the daily work?
Every day, we have everyday scrums and 11 a.m. 1-hour meetings. All key people of this migration take a place in this meeting, and every C-level management, even board members, also participating in it. So extreme focus and motivation from high-level management of the bank, motivating people and increase importance of this task. And the last thing, very important, the biggest challenge is unpredictable cost of cloud. And that's why we are returned to Igor as well.
Yeah. As a part of migration planning, there are different ways that can help you to analyze and predict your infrastructure costs. So essentially, there are technologies that allow you to gather footprint of your on-prem data centers, like basically count the servers, analyze the workload patterns, and so on, and build a business case. So basically build a prediction of the assessments of how it would look like in the short term and the long term. And then prepare multiple options of the migration. So in terms of what kind of resources to use. And essentially prepare like a financial summary that can be pretty precise in terms of lift and shift and help the C-level to make the informed decision. What kind of budgets are we talking about? And essentially, if it makes sense. And again, with Privatbank, we did it other way around.
Yes, we in this exercise, we also have very limited time, only 15 minutes as far as I remember. When stakeholders, representatives after regulator allow us to migrate, the first question to me, it was how much does it cost, how it relate to our budget, etc. And they're expecting that during the call with VIP persons, I can predict some figures. It's quite impossible, but we did it this way. We had a list of our resources on-prem. We figured out CPU and RAM. We had web page of AWS prices. Find in Excel the closest instance type, and there's daily or hourly cost, and just multiply. Yes. Our experts see on it and said that it's quite a small amount. We need to multiply it by 3, for example. And yes, we did it this way. Of course, we don't know about network cost. We don't know about storage, IOPS, throughput, a lot of other things which we trapped in during this migration. And that's why we get these results. You can see that the small line, it's our estimated budget, and the red line, we exceeded 4 times our expectation. And it caused some shock for our management. And then we returned to AWS as well and asked help to optimize this infrastructure.
Well, first of all, I also wanted to mention that this cost, Privatbank actually never paid, because in AWS we have a lot of programs that support migrations, and they are targeted to cover these excess costs during the migration period. But still, it was not really sustainable in the long run, so we started to do the optimization. And believe me or not, although I'm working for AWS, but one of my goals is to make sure that the customers pay to AWS as least as possible. It sounds counterproductive, but believe me, it works like that. And we use different techniques, both technical and management, to do this optimization. But all of them are related to one simple idea. And that's the main difference between cloud and on-prem. Cloud is elastic. So the more you are able to find the workload pattern, the resources to match exactly your requirements, the better, and the less you will pay in the end. That's why we started analyzing in automatic mode all the metrics of those newly migrated servers. We found that a lot of them were heavily over-provisioned, and by just changing the types of the server, changing the runtime mode, we were saving costs. Then we were looking for the options, what systems could be scaled up and down with the load, because that's also the good way to save costs when no one is using, for example, the bank services. Then we have much more cloud options in the storage options in the cloud than on-prem. They all come with different features, different performance, and different costs. And indeed, after one of the migration, I think one large database was responsible for around 4 to 5% of overall infrastructure costs. Like, it was very huge. So just by modifying the storage type and finding the better storage type for that, we were able to cut the cost for the database 10 times. And last but not least, we have a lot of options that are working with the price directly. Basically, discounts, savings plan, and so on. So we utilized all of those to make sure that the Privatbank's cloud infrastructure is optimal.
We use all techniques and advices from AWS partners. Also, I want to took your attention into some manager tricks. A lot of people don't want changing configuration of their systems because in this way they lived in on-prem data centers a lot of years. They're just waiting where war was stopped, and they returned to comfort places in on-prem data centers. So first rule, no return to on-prem. If we will do it, we do it from scratch, and a lot of modern technologies will be in place, so we don't look in back. Personal ownership. A lot of people don't want to understand why and who responsible for each type of infrastructure or resources. We link each type of resources, each instance, each database with one person. We call it IT owner, and ask them to provide and execute all recommendations which generated by AWS or internal teams. Every dollar is important. Also, a lot of recommendations can save dollar, but a lot of people involved, and they don't want to do this work. It's not efficient. No, every recommendation need be executed. And cost visibility we achieved in cloud, and can negotiate with business to explain why and how much, even not system, even not operation, only transaction costs to business. And we start optimizing not only from IT side, also from business side. And using all these techniques, we achieved such perfect results, I think. At the beginning of June, we reduced our cloud costs twice. And in early October, we returned to our guesstimated figures and return to our budget, calm down our management.
But of course, it's not over, because first of all, now the bank is fully operating from the cloud, so there is a whole new bunch of challenges that are about to be solved, and that we solve until now. And one of them was, for example, the skills, because now there are much more people in the bank that have to work with cloud, that have to somehow manage the infrastructure in cloud. So we have started a big project of building Cloud Center of Excellence of the group of people and educate them to make sure that they can help their colleagues use the cloud in the best possible way. And then?
In bank, we plan to build and align new IT operational model this year to cloud challenges, because previous responsibilities, previous roles in our operation model are not fully aligned with expectation from efficiency of this work. also refactoring and redesigning our apps to using cloud-native solutions, cloud-native approaches to design, such as scaling, spotting. A lot of things can increase efficiency and reduce cost even more than we did it last year. Last, we already hope that this year we free our land and return to the question, do we need, thank you for supper, do we really need our on-prem data centers? Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you for a very interesting presentation. There are a lot of questions, but I'll ask a couple of them. So first one is, how many people we are working during the peak period on the migration? During those 2 months, what was the...
In peak period, about 600 employees. Half of them, it's DevOps teams who prepared, provisioned, deployed, test, and half of this amount, it's developers who check, who tune sometimes. So in peak time, it was about 600.
That was on Privatbank side. And in AWS side, I have gathered a team of around up to 15 specialists, because we have specialists in everything. So I invite a specialist in networking, in VMware, in databases, you name it. So we had around 15 people, essentially working in parallel 24/7 with Privatbank.
Another question was, why did not you consider that active migration before the war? Did you consider?
We considered, but as I mentioned earlier, the regulator, our national bank, didn't allow to use cloud technologies abroad to locate core banking and accounting solutions. That's why biggest part of our high-load system couldn't be placed in cloud. That's why we use only for some digital application, digital business applications, cloud before the war.
And the last question, if you were one day before the migration started, what was the biggest thing that you would change in the process?
In what? Sorry?
The biggest thing that would change in the process of migration.
So if you would have to do it all over again.
I think we repeat this way. I can say more because Igor explained a classical process of migration. I can advise for some companies that obviously not in the war situation, just want to accelerate and use cloud technologies more faster than it provided by guidelines from AWS. They can use the same process. It's stressful, it's hard, but it makes sense.